In the world of My Hero Academia, almost everyone carries the dream of becoming a hero, but to become a true hero, saving people is not enough. You also need to look impressive on the battlefield. That is why today we will take a look at the best hero costumes in My Hero Academia. This list is not based only on visual appeal. What matters more is how each costume supports the quirk and elevates the strength of the user. Neito Monoma. Designing a hero costume has never been easy because it is the element that defines how every hero appears on the battlefield. And if there is anyone who turns their costume into a complete extension of their personality, it is Neito Monoma. At first glance, his outfit looks like an ordinary suit, but in reality, it reflects Monoma's true nature. He constantly mocks Class 1A and believes that he and Class 1B stand on a higher level. That elegant suit makes Monoma look like a gentleman from an upper-class background, perfectly matching the image he wants others to see. However, the real highlight of this costume lies in the belt. Monoma attaches several small clocks to it to measure the time passed since the moment he copies a quirk. Each clock works as an individual timer. Thanks to this, Monoma always maintains perfect control over the limits of his copy ability, something very few people notice when they face him. What's even more interesting is that Monoma also uses these clocks as a form of psychological warfare. As long as the opponent sees a clock approaching 0, they will assume that Monoma is about to run out of time to use the copied quirk and will naturally lower their guard. That is when Monoma strikes with a decisive move, because in truth, he still has a few crucial seconds left to turn the situation around. A simple costume that is used as a strategic tool while still maintaining Monoma's refined elegance. That alone is enough for him to take the 10th spot on this list. Mount Lady. Mount Lady's costume design truly reaches the peak of perfection. And yes, I know what you're thinking. It looks like I put her on this list just because she's Mount Lady and the national waifu of My Hero Academia. I'm not going to say that's wrong, but I also have entirely legitimate reasons. Mount Lady's quirk allows her to become gigantic, so her costume has to adapt to constant size changes. It needs to expand along with her body when she grows and shrink neatly when she returns to her normal size. Not only that, because she can increase her size to the point of occupying an entire corner of a city, her costume cannot have bulky elements that might get in the way when she moves through tight spaces. Just with this aspect alone, the costume already earns a major point. But there is something even more important. Right when Mount Lady first appears in the story, she makes her goal very clear. She wants to make money, not to save the world, not to sacrifice herself for someone, but to escape poverty. That doesn't mean she lacks heroic spirit, but for Mount Lady, popularity is the top priority. And to become famous, especially when she has such a striking appearance, the most effective way is to present herself boldly to the public. Mount Lady's skin-tight costume is designed exactly for that purpose. It accentuates her figure, draws attention, and quickly turns her into a standout face among heroes. Thanks to that, she climbs up the popularity rankings at an astonishing speed and achieves the financial stability she has always aimed for. Shota Aizawa. Shota Aizawa's hero costume at first glance seems to have nothing special. He only wears a black outfit from head to toe, along with his two most familiar items, which are the capture weapon made from a special material and a pair of bright yellow goggles. The true appeal of this costume lies in that simple black outfit. We all know Aizawa is not someone who enjoys the spotlight or the attention of the media. He works mostly in the dark as an underground hero. The black suit helps him avoid unwanted attention from reporters and reflects the quiet nature that defines his character. However, the black outfit would lose most of its effectiveness without the capture weapon wrapped around his neck. This cloth allows Eraser to improve his mid-range combat ability in a significant way. He can restrain villains safely without risking close contact or facing sudden attacks. The final tactical element comes from the goggles. When combined with his characteristic spiky hair, these goggles hide Aizawa's line of sight completely. This confuses villains because they cannot know who is having their quirk erased and cannot prepare a defense. This perfect combination of stealth and support gear allowed Aizawa to hold back an entire group of villains by himself during the USJ incident. He was only stopped when he had to face both Shigaraki and the Nomu at the same time. Mirio Togata. Mirio Togata's hero costume is a true work of design with strong symbolic meaning. At first glance, we are struck by the classic color scheme that resembles the great heroes of past generations. The most important detail is the number 1 million printed across his chest, which represents his noble desire to save 1 million lives. This detail reflects perfectly the nature and ideals that Mirio always pursues. From a technical perspective, this is the first costume in the series that receives a clear explanation about its creation using the user's own hair fibers. Although Mount Lady may use similar technology, Mirio's case is the most clearly described. Weaving the costume from his body cells allows it to synchronize completely with his permeation quirk. Thanks to this, Mirio can activate his ability to pass through objects without worrying about his clothes being left behind. This makes us glance at Momo with a judgmental look. Instead of using hair fiber technology for a safe protective suit, she chooses a design that uses as little fabric as possible. I guess she shows more skin to distract villains with her charm instead of trying to block bullets. However, the key element that puts Mirio on this list lies in how he uses his cape. Most heroes see a cape as simple decoration, but Mirio turns it into an essential rescue tool. The moment he used that cape to wrap and comfort Eri during the life or death battle with Overhaul left a strong emotional impact. That action proves that for a true hero, every part of a costume exists to protect the people. Midoriya Izuku. When it comes to hero costumes that evolve over time, no one shows that more clearly than Midoriya Izuku. As the main character and the student with the fastest growing quirk in the entire series, it makes perfect sense that Midoriya constantly changes his hero costume. Each suit marks a new step in his journey to master One for All. When he first started, Deku's hero costume, called Costume Alpha, was a simple homemade suit. The touching detail is that this costume was made by his mother as a gift for her son. The design included a jumpsuit, a mask, and basic protective pads, which reflected the humble beginning of his career. The clear difference from standard professional hero gear shows that Deku was a young hero trying to find his own path with unconditional support from his family. However, with the destructive power of One for All, the homemade Costume Alpha could not handle the strain from his attacks, which forced Deku to seek professional support. To handle his growing strength, Deku upgraded to Costume Beta, a tight green suit that was more durable and had protective leg braces, a utility belt, and gauntlets. After Deku switched fully to a combat style that focused on his legs called Shoot Style, he added iron soles to his boots. He also gained better arm braces and knee pads. The most important upgrade was the support gloves created by Hatsume, which allowed him to perform long-range air pressure attacks. This device completed the power of Costume Gamma. Costume Gamma still keeps some of its original visual elements, but its evolution carries deep symbolic meaning. It represents Deku finally realizing that he can become a hero with his own independent style. He no longer tries to simply imitate All Might. The shift to Shoot Style and the use of Costume Gamma are the clearest signs of his growth and independence. After the Paranormal Liberation War arc, Deku's hero costume was upgraded once more with Gran Torino's cape, which honored his mentor in a meaningful way. He also added a mask and other support items. All of this equipment was designed for him to operate alone and deal with the darker conflicts ahead. In this form, Izuku's hero costume is now fully optimized, and it allows him to use the full potential of the diverse and powerful quirk known as One for All. Uraraka Ochaco. Uraraka Ochaco's hero costume is a clear example of adjusting a costume to compensate for the physiological weaknesses of a quirk. Her suit is carefully designed for the needs of zero gravity. Besides the black and pink skin-tight suit, she also carries several important support items. The helmet reduces inner ear stress and helps her stay oriented while floating. The wristlets stabilize her blood pressure and prevent the nausea that often appears when she overuses her quirk. She also wears a neck brace to prevent headaches. Finally, the large pink boots have padded soles that reduce impact when she lands. Most of these items exist to counter the biological drawbacks she faces when operating in a zero-gravity environment. The biggest weakness of her original costume is the lack of combat utility. Because of this, Ochaco later received an upgrade to fix the issue. The upgrade allows her to fire grappling hooks from her wrist gear. This detail is notable because it takes inspiration from Midoriya's Black Whip quirk. The grappling hooks increase her mobility and mid-range combat options, which let her control objects or reposition more quickly. The upgrade also removes the original glass visor to avoid the serious danger of shattered glass during battle. One of Ochaco's main goals is to improve her hand-to-hand combat skills. This is shown clearly when she chooses to intern under the pro-hero Gunhead to learn martial arts. For that reason, the changes in her costume design not only reflect the evolution of her quirk, but also support the expanding combat skill set she is building. Katsuki Bakugo. Katsuki Bakugo's hero costume is the perfect combination of aggressive style and military-grade support gear. This outfit is not only a reflection of his explosive personality, it is also a specialized tool designed to fully optimize the destructive power of the explosion quirk. The first thing that catches every eye when seeing Bakugo's costume is the pair of massive grenade-shaped gauntlets that cover his entire arms. These are his primary devices. With them, he can store nitroglycerin like sweat to its maximum limit. Once he pulls the trigger, Bakugo can create an explosion far stronger than usual. Bakugo also carries a set of hand grenades attached to his belt. These grenades can be filled with his nitroglycerin sweat for different situations. They can be thrown to attack from a distance or given to allies as a backup energy source. We saw Denki use these grenades very effectively for the first time during the Provisional Hero License exam. If all of that is still not enough, then during the final war arc, we see a portable armor set called the Strafe Panzer that Bakugo can equip. This armor contains several retractable machine guns that use his sweat as fuel for continuous fire. More importantly, he uses the Strafe Panzer to increase the power of his ultimate technique known as Howitzer Impact Cluster. This technique creates far larger explosions that launch him at extreme speed while also firing blasts in every direction for massive destructive damage. This costume shows Bakugo's constant evolution as he turns himself into a highly effective combat machine. Shoto Todoroki. When Shoto first began his journey as a hero, his initial costume did not leave much of an impression. It looked like a formal white vest with the entire right side covered by a thick layer of ice. This may have been Shoto's way of showing resistance toward his father, who has a fire quirk, because the ice was placed exactly on the fire side of his half-cold, half-hot. Even though it carried personal meaning, this costume lacked practicality in combat, and it was not visually appealing. Because of that, when Shoto entered the UA Sports Festival wearing a completely new costume, the change immediately felt more fitting. The blue jumpsuit, along with the vest and belt, created a streamlined design in which every detail was shaped to help Shoto use both fire and ice efficiently. The true value of the costume lies in its internal support system. Even though it looks minimalistic and can sometimes be mistaken for the UA gym uniform, its level of sophistication is much higher. On Shoto's back is an intelligent vest that constantly monitors his body temperature. Based on the data, it warms or cools his body only as much as needed to keep him stable without weakening the strength of his quirk. This is how the suit supports Shoto, not by increasing firepower, but by helping him maintain control and biological balance in every combat situation. Along with the temperature regulation system, the costume is optimized with several small yet practical details. Shoto's boots have tiny spikes on the soles to help him stay balanced and avoid slipping on the ice he creates. He also uses metal gloves designed to contain hot and cold air, which allow him to compress his fire and ice before releasing them. However, the most notable detail lies in the belt. It holds small metal capsules that contain painkillers, water, and antiseptic, forming a compact first aid kit that Shoto always carries. For a hero, this feature is extremely important because it lets him treat injured victims on the spot instead of moving them elsewhere. Yuga Aoyama. Yuga Aoyama's costume is one of the clearest examples of how a suit can save a quirk that is not compatible with the user's body. Aoyama is known by the nickname Can't Stop Twinkling, and he is also the one who once betrayed UA. He was born without a quirk and could only enter the world of heroes because he received the naval laser quirk from All for One. However, Aoyama's body was not prepared for a power like that. Firing a laser from his navel places heavy pressure on his digestive system, and if he uses it for too long, he will suffer stomach pain or collapse on the spot. For that reason, Aoyama's hero costume is designed almost to save his life in every battle. The central device of the suit is the energy-focusing belt around his waist, which stabilizes the laser flow and spreads the pressure across his body. Thanks to this belt, Aoyama can fire the laser for longer periods without suffering severe damage. The light armor on his chest and shoulders also helps him maintain posture when he uses his quirk to propel himself through the air. This is a technique Aoyama often uses to increase mobility and create safe distance during combat. However, the limits of his body remain his greatest obstacle. Without the support suit, he can only fire the laser for a few seconds. This almost makes the quirk useless in extended battles. Because of that, Aoyama's costume plays a more important role than almost any other student's suit. It turns an unstable ability into a complete combat tool. This is why Yuga Aoyama's costume is ranked very high on this list. All Might. If I am being honest, the #1 position on this list was originally reserved for Aoyama. But when I looked back at the entire story and remembered the important moments in the manga, I realized there is one costume that surpasses all others, and that is the hero costume of All Might. All Might has many different costumes, and at first glance, they seem simple. The special point is that each one is designed perfectly around how he operates. All Might dives into any environment to save people. Because of that, his costume must withstand every condition a hero may face. It must endure the intense heat of large-scale fires and the heavy pressure of seawater. It must handle the friction created by his own speed and the powerful wind force when he moves across a city at high velocity. No matter the environment, All Might's costume always remains intact. This is a requirement very few heroes can meet. But to stand at #1, a regular All Might costume is not enough. The true standout is the robot suit that All Might uses in the final battle. The greatness of this suit is not only in its ability to let a man without a quirk fight directly against the greatest threat in history. What makes it truly special is that All Might built into the armor simulated versions of the quirks of every student in Class 1A. Each ability was included as a tribute to the next generation. This is a brilliant detail that the author added. It shows that the students have now become the new symbols of peace. They are the pillars of society and a living reminder of the journey All Might went through. He learned from them and they grew from the legacy he left. To me, this is the perfect conclusion to All Might's story, and it is also the reason why this special suit deserves the #1 position on this list. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos.